but it takes a moment to get everything started with YouTube sometimes. I'm out here in the barn, got hay bales and stuff behind me, got my lantern on and stuff. It's a little more easier for me to just go outside and do a live stream than it is trying to be inside with house and wife and kids and all that good stuff. Men that are in my kind of similar position probably can understand. Um, Barn's a little more peaceful. It's only like 30 degrees out here, but it's just how it is sometimes. So tonight I got John with Heavy Set Tactical. I think it's going to be our new little Sunday show. It's going to be Blade Bros Talks or something like that. We might kind of edit the name or something later, but that's kind of what it's going to be for now. And we're going to be kind of going down the rabbit hole with knife steal conspiracy. So this is going to be about the next hour or so, talking about knife steals and how they might be potentially playing the market, running scams, all that good stuff as far as steel goes. Um, so I know John has been kind of chomping at the bit on this topic, so I'm going to kind of let him take off, and then I got a few things I'm going to add into it. So,
What do
John,
you say, brother? How you doing?
I'm doing just well. Doing just well.
I
Like I said, I'm kind of out here in the barn trying to keep warm. I was going to try to get my little space heater going, and that didn't really quite work. So just
well,
bundled up in wool and hoping I could last. So
well, I'd probably rather be out in the barn right now too. I had a bad migraine earlier, so I took a little bit of a nap, little Sunday nap. So one of my things, right, that I've been chewing on for the past week is I want everybody to envision any other industry, right? And we got this phenomenon that happens every day, all the time, multiple times a week. I see it all over Blade forums, YouTube. Let's say, let's say, but it doesn't happen with all companies, right? Let's say Microtech. Every single day, I see someone post a video or a comment about how Microtech markets, and they're a serious company. These are like towards the higher end of mid-level premium. They're $350 a piece folders and OTFs, 400, 500 some of the models.
yeah, more premium knives.
Right. And they are listed at like M390 MK 60 to 61 or 61 to 62. It kind of varies a little bit each model, I believe. And yet every test done by a very strange foreign gentleman called Cutting Board Reviews, one thing I will say is he is thorough. The guy that says good morning late or gentleman and lady, he does that on every video because he's got like one female follower, I guess. So you got this premium knife company, right? And they have their steel listed at 60, 61, whatever it is. But every time it comes to you, it's 3 points, between 2 and 4 points on the HRC scale, softer than as advertised. He tested 6 Microtech knives. Every single one of them was at minimum about 1.8 HRC less. Some of them were significantly less, like 3 HRC less hard than advertised. So I start thinking, right? I ordered this super expensive HRC tester because I've been using a digital one. You have to do it 3 times and then it averages them. And it's pretty accurate. I've, really, really tested it on a few things. But you got these companies like Les George. The only 2 videos I saw of people testing Les George's stuff, both examples were about zero point 0.5 points higher on the HRC than listed, not lower. So in any other industry, right? I said to Gabe the other day, um this is like a lumber manufacturer, right? One of the biggest lumber companies ever. 89 lumber, whatever it's called over here. Let's say they send out every order for 2x6s, 2x6 by 12, and all the boards that come. are supposed to be 2 inches by 6 inches by 12 inches long, right? For a deck build. And they come and they're 12 foot long. That's great. And they're 2 inches thick. That's great as advertised, but they're 4 inches wide instead of six. And they just say, you know what? You're supposed to build a deck with different dimensions of wood now? Like, nobody would accept that because they aren't supposed to be that. I want what I ordered. But for some reason in the knife company, and I'm not using this to bash Microtech, because I honestly, man, the SOCOM Elite is still considered one of my favorite folders ever made, the SOCOM Elite manual. But we got companies like Spyderco who probably use a similar, large provide of steel, and they don't have that problem because they're known as serious steel testers and hardeners. We got all these other companies that are sending out steel that's like 2 or 3 points softer, and then maybe to save on abrasives, maybe because it's I don't know what, but
So
the
I
funny
kind of got
thing
my
is
own
we
thoughts
just
on this.
continue to let this occur, and nobody's like, okay, think about all the people that are posting these videos catching it, right?
Yeah, how
Imagine
many
all the
people
knives
don't
that,
catch it?
right, because they might have said to themselves, okay, we got 100,000 of these, or I mean, we got 10,000 of these that are going out over the next year. How many of them are really going to hit us back and say, look, I have a $2,000 HRC tester or a $500 HRC tester. I tested it. It's too soft. I want my money back. Maybe out of 10,000, maybe 60 people. And they're like, okay, well, we'll save this much on abrasives, but we'll have to replace three knives. Who cares? You know what I mean? Maybe it's that situation, but in any other industry, we wouldn't allow that to happen. You know what I mean? I think it's a little weird.
Well, I think there's a handful of things going on, and one of them, and me and you kind of talked about this the other day, is there's not really much accountability as far as like people holding things to like certain standards and stuff. There's not like an FDA or something of the knife world, and not
Right.
that I necessarily want that, but I
Right.
think it's good for the uh, people out in the knife world to kind of hold companies accountable. I also think that, and very good knife companies kind of pointed this out, and this kind of goes into a larger topic here, but um, most of your manufacturers these days do not even heat treat their own steels. They send them out for like third party heat treats. And so, it might not even be so much of the manufacturer themselves, but more so they're just taking the company that's doing the heat treats word for it and like, oh, okay, yeah,
Right.
this is, 60, 65 HRC or whatever it is and all that good stuff. And so I think that there's that. And, kind of the um, deeper topic that I was kind of talking about too, and very good knife companies pointed this out because I've messaged them and told them about this, and I know what's the point EDC's said this, and a few people mentioned it too. Very good knife company. It's like, man, I've been using your Nitro V, and it's as good as Magna Cut. Like it's as good as Magna Cut in every way, shape, and form. Like for real world testing. And he's kind of like, well, yeah, and I think the reason for that is because I think because a lot of these heat treat processing centers are also in bed with the steel companies. They're scaling back Nitro V that's been around for 20, 30 years just so they can promote the new latest and greatest steel. And next thing you know, they'll come out with Asswipe 2000 steel and they'll scale back Magna Cut and make Magna Cut look like crap. And then they'll be like, well, here's Asswipe 2000 steel. It's even better than Magna Cut. And you're stupid if you don't got Asswipe 2000 steel at 66.6 HRC, hail Satan or some stupid shit.
you know, your delivery is comical, but your logic is sound. And I think it's funny. I Erica's EDC got traded me one of my knives for her wallet, right? And she keeps messaging me saying, dude, this S45 is ridiculous. It's retarded. It is holding the craziest edge ever. And I said, I think it's funny that it's just like the Very Good Knife Company thing. I don't think the heat treatment protocol at some of these large places like Pete's Heat Treat, nothing, not throwing shade against Pete's. They've been used for a long time by a lot of people, but I just don't think that the steel is getting the same precise attention to detail as far as like the procedure, the temperatures. Then you got someone that's doing heat treat alone as a business. You'd think that would mean that they're that good at it. But what that also means is instead of being a steel nerd like me that's obsessed with the recipe and optimizing it, and guys like Very Good Knife Company, you know, instead of them actually being like guys that really, really want to push the boundaries of a steel, they're more or less non-knife people that work there that are like, oh, I just want to get
We
my
just
day
need to
over
pump
with and
these
go.
numbers out and get them out so we get more people coming in and pump those
Right.
out. Because I mean, there's a lot of people that's sending their knives to some of these. Let's address some of the
Yeah, go
comments
ahead, brother. Go
here.
ahead.
We got Christo here. And happy holidays. Well, Merry Christmas to you all. Got to call your local synagogues and tell them Merry Christmas. And then we got Jay McGardy here. Garrity. I'm bad at pronouncing names. Is Very Good Knife Company going to restock my knife? Yes, he is. We've already been talking about that. He's kind of still restructuring. He's, just got into a new shop and stuff. And last he told me it's probably going to be early next year before, he starts doing some uh, drops. I'm trying to talk him into doing a Nitro V Mustang drop, I think, because I kind of want one
Because
myself.
I kind of
The
want one
little
too.
the little clip point one. Um, and so that's kind of the plan. Um, McGarity, which one are you kind of leaning on? Are you liking or wanting the Huntsman or the Hawk more so? Because I know he's told me, yeah, he's had a lot of people ask him for both. He's told me, and I've had people ask me too, like, "Hey, I want to buy a Hawk, but I want it in Nitro V." And so, I've been kind of telling him, I think most of your smaller knife drops need to be in Nitro V
Yeah.
from just
Uh,
because. I mean, let's just be realistic. That's what the market wants. So it's, sometimes you just got to follow what the market wants.
hey, Gabe, real quick, what's that large model that you have by Very Good Knife Company that I love that wasn't your design?
Oh, the that's the walkabout.
The Walkabout. It looks like the Adventure Junior took way too much Trend 27 in his juicing.
Yeah, he it's the like juiced up adventure basically. It's the walkabout. Yeah, I
Great,
really
great name
like I'll
too.
be honest, like I think I kind of like the walkabout more than even my own knife in some way. But eh, that's just
Y-
me being totally honest, but
yeah, the one I just showed, Jay McGarity, the one I just showed was the Hawk. Yeah,
yeah, that's the Hawk. That's my design. That's probably like my favorite all-time knife is the Hawk, really honestly, but
it's a great carry, man. It's a useful carry. It checks a lot of boxes.
yeah, it's a knife that to me I think Jacob Peterson described it the best. It's a knife that is great for EDC, but is still big enough and stout enough that it's very comfortable out in the woods too.
You know what's funny, man? I said my dad said the same thing. He said it kind of looks like it would just do a lot of stuff well, but still serve with that deep guard as even like a self defense appendix carry.
Yeah.
And that's why I did that short the other day because I think it would be a decent knife in defense of yourself.
Well, there's a YouTuber. I don't know if he's still on YouTube much anymore, but his YouTube channel's called Theg Thrand, and he would used to do like a lot of like medieval weapon testing stuff. And one of the things that I thought was pretty cool is he tested one time a like Tanto, a Bowie knife, and like a Viking style sax, and was just seeing which one, did better against like a human anatomy target and stuff. And he even had it with like different varying amounts of armor and stuff. And it was actually very interesting on how well the sax did, just because, one of the things that he pointed out is because the edge is basically in line with the tip, it almost stabs as it's slashing, and so like it actually did better than even the Bowie and the Tanto did, which was, and that's just one test, but still, it's kind of interesting to see.
Yeah. So one thing, Jay, one thing I've had so many people that still on a daily basis love to trudge up the survive stuff in the comments. And real quick, Gabe, just super quick. I'm not going into the survive stuff because I refuse to. But uh, guys, when I came back from that, I lost a woman that I loved. That I sacrificed that relationship for a chance to get into the knife industry and be with a company that I thought I believed in. I lost over $12,000. I lost the respect of my father and half the respect of the knife community, which I've clawed back from and worked very hard at, you know, showing people the facts that I had nothing to do with that. But I still catch so much slack for that I already decided this long before the whole survive thing. But if I ever had a knife company, I would not be taking orders or pre-orders. Now, if you want something cool, like for example, this is a customer of mine that loves carving. This was a Scandi. This is my first Scandi. It's essentially a Morris Kahansky kind of tribute Scandi for carving. It's a Nitro V, just has really well done hand satin on the handle with some OD green or orange G10 liners and burlap with brass pins. He kind of ordered that for me, but I told him he ordered like 4 knives for me because he liked the Erica's EDC one, that 3 inch, so much. But I told him I'll spend the next couple days making them, week making them, and then you can pay me for them. So I'm not going to be taking orders per se. I'm actually going to be doing a drop in about 40 days, 30, 40 days from now. So I'm just getting into that work for that drop. I'll be keeping people updated on Instagram and on YouTube as to when that first drop's going to be. It'll be on my own website, same day shipping, no bullshit. And I'm going to allow for a slight discount on any of my knives from people that can send me proof of their issue that they had with Survive as far as not getting their orders met. So I'm even extending that small discount to people that got screwed over. I'm still trying to at least make up for my part in that, which was very minuscule. So
Well, a little side caveat too with the pre-order thing, and yeah, I know
it ends bad
Survive
every time.
obviously.
Every time.
Yeah, Survive was obviously the most egregious about it, but to be totally honest, every maker and company that I have seen that's done pre-orders has always gotten themselves in a bind with it.
Every time.
Every single time. Even Bark River has gotten themselves in a bind with pre-orders. I know just small makers that's gotten themselves in a bind, and I don't know where that whole trend came about, but it's one of those things that like hopefully it's died with Survive. Like,
Let's hope, right?
yeah, because honestly, I think if you don't have the product on hand, you shouldn't be trying to sell it.
I think it's putting the cart before the horse. It just doesn't make sense to me. And if somebody's logic like mine, right? I put aside money. I have worked tirelessly. I have skipped things that I wanted to do. I have kept the amount of money together for paying for all my resources that I need to make this drop, then selling it when it's done, right? So if someone were to tell me the reason that they're doing it in pre-order fashion is to make sure that they get the amount of sales they wanted to get or to make sure that they can pay for the materials to make it, my answer immediately would be there's a problem if you need the customer to pay first so you can buy the materials to make what they're buying. There's a problem with that business model and I don't think it makes
Well,
sense.
and that'd be like me going to Walmart and saying, "Hey, I want to buy some eggs, but here's the money. Now, I'll wait for my eggs, to ship to me later or something. Like that just seems kind of very bad business model. And, anybody who's, ever got a chunk of money in their hands too, that money goes away really quick. And what I've seen, where a lot of people's gone wrong with pre-orders too is they'll get the money, it covers their bills and groceries, and now all of a sudden they still don't have money to buy the stuff to build a knife. And so, there's a lot of makers even out there that has pre-orders that's, months and years out even, which is just crazy. And I personally, if I was running any kind of business, would never want to deal with that kind of uh you know type of business model.
Yeah. And Bushcraft Rebooted said the only way it would put money up front was on a custom deal. And the cool thing, the reason I love Alex John from AD Knives is he always says, I don't even want a deposit. When I'm done with your knife in 30 days, 40 days from now, you can pay me then. And I respect that a
Yeah.
lot because I
And
could
I
be
can
one of.
maybe see like a half now and half later type of
Yeah.
thing
Well, Gary
too.
Creeley, sorry. I did not mean any respect, Gary. I wasn't thinking about Creeley Blades. He does 35 up front, and when the knife is done 6 months or 5 months later, then you pay the rest. Gary does it in an acceptable manner.
Yeah, yeah. I
So
guess there is kind of a right and a wrong way to
a
do
more
things.
ethical way, I guess we'll say. Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. But Jay McGarity said keep us out updated on the releases for both your stuff. Thank you, man. And if you hit me up on Instagram right now, I can squeeze. If you want one of those Magna Cut 3-inch EDC knives, kind of like Erica's EDC, with a nice leather sheath, I'm going to be working with some of my stuff. I'd like to do with uh, Spirit of the Bear, and some of my stuff I'd like to do with Badger Claw leather. They reached out to me. So it'll have a nice leather sheath, cool EDC knife, great heat treat, and hand done handle and liners with some beautiful finish work. So if you would like something, I can squeeze you in there. Just message me on Instagram.
Augustus, is that better? I'm out here in a barn, so I got a lot of wind and barn noise and everything like that. So,
Yeah,
where,
it's better. I could hear you fine originally, though, on my end anyway.
oh, okay. I had one person bring up that they couldn't
Yeah, I
hear.
saw.
Yeah. Um. Okay. So, talking about steel and stuff. Um. Something else. What kind of steels are you considering working with? Because like this is me personally. I would rather see a maker stick with like one or two variances of steel and just really perfect it, like very good knife company has done with ADCRV and Nitro V, than like a maker bounce around 10 different steels and then never really, perfect it. And I feel like a lot of makers are bad about that. And, I've had some people, that's shown me or sent me Magna Cut blades, but then it's like, okay, yeah, but my Nitro V is performing better, and it's just because I think I'd rather just personally see somebody really perfect a certain steel than trying to bounce around a lot. And so, what kind of steels are you looking at for heavy set knife code type of thing?
Well, so far, I've worked with, and it's funny you bring that up, right? Because it's, I just got that heat treating kiln, and I had been researching heat treating, writing my own recipe book down for what I'm gonna follow as far as austenitization and cryo and how much time and temperature for the tempering cycles and all that for a few steels I wanted to work with. Then the oven came, and I was like, I don't want to have 10 steels in here. So I ordered Magna Cut, Nitro V, AEBL. Those were the first three I went because everybody said AEBL was super easy to heat treat, stayed nice and flat, blah, blah, blah. That was a great steel to work with. Nitro V is along that same route. Super easy to work with, stays dead straight during my tempering because I keep it compressed to straight. But for both tempering cycles, even though you technically don't have to, I want my blades to just be ridiculously straight and not have to hammer them out much or anything. So Nitro V, I'm a huge fan of. It's a lot easier to cut on the bandsaw because I shape my own blanks by hand. And there's very good knife
Yeah,
company.
very good.
Hats off
Hats
to you,
off.
sir.
I'm not taking my beanie off. It's too cold out here.
So my
North
main
Central Mo here. We're cold out here. So
so I wanted to work with MagnaCut to see what the fuss was about. And to be honest with you, man, other than a little bit of crinkling after temper, like it's fine to work with. It's all about following that recipe super tight and not letting stuff sit in the kiln too long, not forgetting to set a timer for your temper. Then it's in there a little longer, a little shorter. That first temper cycle for 2 hours is more important than the second. So it's my main steels. I really think I want to do like Nitro V. That S45 is, bro, it has better edge retention than most Magna Cut batches you'll ever get production. It is crazy strong. I think
well,
I'm
and
gonna I'm
that's
gonna do
something else.
Nitro
Just kind of
V.
a little side topic is with Crucible kind of going by the wayside, and of course they'll probably get bought up and stuff like that. But I'd honestly be kind of questioning of their quality.
Well,
Yeah, I know a lot of people are like, buy your Magna Cut knives while you can, or buy your Magna Cut
right.
steel while you can. It's like
This is
I
all a
don't know.
farce. Yes. It's all BS. We're still going to have Magna Cut and 3V. They're just not going to come from Crucible. And probably the way our country works these days. Gabe, you started glitching out for a minute, by the way, but you're good now. I can see your hands moving.
Okay, yeah, yours did the same on my end, so I don't know exactly who
I think
is.
you want to talk about big conspiracy shit, man, like we joke about sometimes. This could be all a farce just for them to get a shitload of sales on CPM steels to try to bounce back from a bad quarter. I don't know. I don't know enough about them. All I know is that I heard very bad things about the quality of work, sanitariness of the shop and everything. And I heard that this is not the first time Crucible has been in very, very bad hot water financially. Um,
Yeah, no, I've heard all that too.
so real quick, Jacob, or real quick, Gabe, I'm gonna do like the Nitro V for some cheaper models, and then S45 VN for some stainless steel models that are a little more expensive with the good edge retention. Then for my slightly larger belt knives, anything over 3.5 inches, I'm just gonna do 3V. So just those three. That's what I'd like to do.
That sounds like a good combo to me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
I
so.
know. I've been, and I really like your 3Vs and your Magna Cut and stuff like that. But honestly, we kind of talked about this the last video. I'm equally impressed with a lot of the bowler steels too. Like honestly, if I here that was using like A8 or Bowler K329 for like some of their larger knives, I'd be perfectly happy with that. Like testing some of my work tough gears next to even some of my other um some of my other or 3V knives and stuff. I'm just as happy with those as I am with the 3V, if not even more so.
So Bushcraft Rebooted said, "What do you have for designs?" I actually have some really cool photographs of some of my designs that I'm going to be offering in the near future. And when I finish building my website over the next like 3 to 5 days at most, my website's going to go up to serve as kind of a platform where you can go and look at some of the stuff I've made so far, some of the side projects and the little scalpels and the bigger and smaller stuff that I've made so far. Um, and just a place where you can kind of see some designs I have available coming, things like that. But
That'd
it'll
be
be up in the
cool.
next week. Yeah, I'm working on the website now. I just took a day or two off because I was just burning the candle at both
And
ends.
of course, you're gonna have a tomahawk on there too, right?
So guys, big thing here. Gabe and I have an affliction for a badass tomahawk, and he sends me these tomahawks all the time, and I always say, Gabe, I don't have like a great like combat survival, like fulfilling both roles of a tomahawk for like self-defense apocalyptic stuff and bushcraft usable. So he said to me just the other day that we should co-design a badass tomahawk that I can cook up in the garage out here. So I think we're gonna do that.
Like a full tang, like I'm
Yep.
thinking 15 to 18-inch overall tomahawk.
Well, and I like my Carta much better than G10 at all times. I always feel that way, but I feel like G10's a lot more bulletproof. So
G10 might be the better material for that
so
application, as
I
long as it's
thought
not too smooth.
that's what I so what I was gonna say to you is I know you hate smooth. So I think we're gonna go G10, but I'll put like cross hatching in it or something inside the handle.
Yeah,
I got some new equipment on the way to add to being able to do fullers and jimping very well and
I
things
wonder
like that.
how hard would it be to do like the checkering,
Not
uh,
hard.
like Lucas Carroll does.
Not well, his is CNC done, which is nice and uniform and the perfect depth every time. Really love his work, especially on that Reef F6, dude. Those new
Yeah,
handles are epic. I've been
yeah.
loving that. But I'm gonna do probably do what I learned out at the place who shall not be named. I loved taking my Carta or G10 and giving it that micro graining on
Mm,
it. So even with the checkering, I'm still gonna blast them with my ceramic bead or glass blasting bead blasting finish because it gives it that negative impression along the layers of it. Makes
yeah.
it real grippy.
Jay McCarty asked, "Do you have an opinion on Bradford selling the next Laren Thomas prototype steel?" To be totally honest, I don't chase after the latest and greatest steel. I mean, I did a whole rant video on that. I usually like to kind of let something settle a bit before I try it. And it's the
Hmm.
same thing with a lot of things. Like if a new piece of gear comes out, it's like, okay, let's see how it's doing in a year, because a lot of people will chase after the new iPhone when the iPhone before still does the same thing basically.
Exactly.
I'm kind of the same way with knife steel. It's kind of like I did in my rant video. People right now are all about Magna Cut, but a few years from now, people is going to be like, "Oh, Asswipe 2000 steel, at 66.6 HRC. Like that's the only thing you can do, and Magna Cut sucks now." And so, like, or like I don't know if how many of you guys are big into the gun thing too, but I remember when everybody got into like 6.5 Creedmoor, and they're like, "Oh, you gotta get rid of your 308 because 6.5 Creedmoor is even better." And then like that went on for like a year, and then now like nobody wants 6.5 Creedmoor because they hyped it up in marketing when in reality it's not a bad round. It just kind of sucks compared to what they hyped it up to be basically. And then a lot of people felt kind of stupid getting rid of their 308s, but
So Bushcraft rebooted, very good knife company. Bushcraft rebooted said G10 for durability and cleanliness, my Carta for comfort and grip. Uh, and in my own and my experience, yeah, I would agree with that statement for sure. There's something about my Carta that's way less like resin based kind of chintzy feeling for me. That's just me. Even if the G10 was textured and had better grip, there's just something about the micarta. It's a little warmer for me, a little more. Uh, you should trademark Asswipe
I was
2000.
just laughing at that. Yeah, I should call Laren Thomas up and just be like, "Hey, we're trademarking Asswipe 2000 steel."
So
Like,
I wanted to give you guys some inside on that. So there are three makers that I am very close, for the most part, friends with. There's three makers that I'm friends with that are using the steel currently to make their knives. They're using the new prototype, Magna Cut 2.0, if you will. And so far, all I'm hearing back is that it's pretty okay to work with, and that their testing results so far put it at potentially a little bit more tough than Magna Cut laterally. Not necessarily more stainless or better edge retention, but it's a little tougher as far as like breaking your tips off or cracking it right in half. When I say lateral strength, I mean if I stab this in and bended it this way, or put it in a vise here and bend it that way, it's a little bit tougher. But honestly, again, Gabe, we go back to the fact that if I have a very good knife company, uh, uh, Adventure Craft in Magna Cut, and I have this ProTech Mordax custom in this is in Magna Cut, this is in Nitro V, but this is well done, correctly heat treated Nitro V. And I'm using them in the woods for feather sticking, scratching my ass that I can't reach because I'm overweight, and cutting my sandwiches. I'm not going to know the difference.
You
So
should
I don't
make
think I don't
like
think anyone's going to see that epic difference like
you should
Magna Cut
make
had.
a Magna Cut ass scratcher, just like looks like a little hand on like an extender, and just like sell it as like a troll item or something.
For like $200.
Yeah. So
I thought
Kramer
about
asked, "What's your EDC?" Well, I mean, I'm always EDCing about everything. I got my little Nightcore flashlight here. Got my Demco
oh
uh,
guys,
Laser
Gabe sent
Shark.
me a Demco and I'm obsessed with it. I swear to God, it's like the greatest little
Demcos are
folder.
my favorite folders. Like I've become a fanboy of the Demcos.
Yeah.
I got my Leatherman on me. Lately, I'm about 95% of the times carrying my Hawk on me, but lately I've been carrying the Reef Knives at Circadian on me. Been kind of having a itching for that one, but I'm probably gonna go back to my Hawk pretty soon because I'm already missing it. And then of course, Rudy Tooty Petey wise, I got my Glock 26 on me as well.
So I'm upstairs in my little knife room office, if you will. So I'm not carrying a pew pew. But guys, this is gonna shock some of you. I've been EDCing quite a bit this Les George. It's the new full DLC Les George Mina Morph Mill. This is a great addition to my collection. I also grabbed one of these for Christmas from River's Edge Cutlery. This is the custom finished gridlock Protect Mordax button lock, and I'm just infatuated with this knife. But you want to know the winner of my 2024? Just about the winner, and I've only had it for a little while. Dude, this is the last thing I thought I would ever say to you on this live stream. But guys, though I understand the slip joint guys now. I have not actually every day carried a slip joint. This stays right in my fifth pocket, my little flashlight pocket, if you will, my coin pocket, whatever you want to call it. This is the American Blade Works slip joint. It's just called the ABW slip joint. It's in Magna Cut and titanium, and it's just this cool little three-fingered grip slip joint that is only $156. So they're doing more drops of these over the right after Christmas, I think. But man, this thing's growing on me, bro.
Hmm. I don't own any slip joints. I have
I love it.
one classic lockback knife, and it was my dad's, and he had it custom made. I don't even know who he got it made by, but it has a Damascus blade and Cocobolo wood handles on it and stuff, and it's
Yeah.
actually pretty nice. But hi, dog.
So, very good knife company said in that order, John. Honestly, man, a lot of people are Chris Reeve guys. A lot of people are Benchmade guys. A lot of people Spyderco guys. For the past several months, I found that maker that makes my perfected folder, and that is Les George. I have quite a few of his models, and I've just been every day. I have a Les George in my pocket over everything. And as far as fixed blades, man, I've been rocking the Hawk, the Reef F3 Magna Cut. I brought that back. I've been loving the appendix carry of the Very Good Knife Company knives. It's annoying because I want to carry something else, but they just carry so well right on the front. And to be honest with you, this one from Gabe is shocking me as one of my new favorite folders, dude. It just makes so much sense to me. It's
Yeah,
like the
that.
Pair 3. It's just a perfect little handful for a utility blade if I don't feel like pulling my fixed blade or something.
Sorry, I got my dog kind of overwhelming me at the moment, but
It's all right. It's all right. I wouldn't call us conventional YouTubers, Gabe. Fuck
no.
it. Pet
Well,
the
well
dog.
it's a unlike Montana Knife Company, we're not sponsored by the CIA, and we're not in a studio, so you know.
Guys, this was made by the finest 12-year-olds in Malaysia that you have ever seen working. I was asking about you feather stick scratch my ass and cutting my sandwiches. Yes, sir. Your Nitro V does all three
Yeah.
better than
Oh,
any.
by the way, Scab is giving away a V44X with his sandwich.
Sandwich cutting.
Yeah, with his sandwich cutting. I've submitted 2 videos now. I think I'm gonna have to bust out my longsword and cut a
Oh,
sandwich. And
that'd be badass, dude. I would love to
John, if
watch
the
that.
shipping wasn't like $100, I'd have to like send you that sometime. But
Right? That'd be an expensive ship.
yeah,
I tell you what, man, it's a good thing we don't live closer, or else you'd have 10 of mine and I'd have 10 of yours at all times, and we'd be losing shit.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
Jay
people that don't
McGarity.
know me very well, I actually used to be a lot more into like swords and stuff before I kind of got into the knife world. And then, I got into the military and everything. And obviously, I can't carry a sword on me very easily with the uh, military stuff. So that's kind of where my transition into like more knife related stuff kind of came.
So, guys, Jay McGarity said I got to get a hawk next year, brother. Email or message on Instagram. Very good knife company. I'm sure he'll be able to put you in his rotation. They just had a move. God bless. Everything's working out so far because he deserved it too. But I'm sure he'll make you one.
Yeah.
If
Yeah,
I had
I
two,
know
I'd sell you one.
I know I personally have had about 10, 15 plus people ask me when another like Nitro V drop is going to be on the Hawks. And so I know that's a very sought after one. Maybe on the next drop, it might be cool to see some like different handle colors or something just to keep them different. And so, then like the next batch of people will get different colors of Hawks than what's already out there. I don't know, just a wild idea. It'd be kind of cool.
Well, and you're talking about what I get so excited for about this knife making thing. Is like I'm learning the rudimentary skills every day, all day. I'm out there 7 days a week, sick or not, headache or not. Except for today, I had a pretty bad migraine. But man, I don't have weekends. I have days where I'm in the shop about 30% less than every other day of the week.
Yeah.
Christmas Day. I got plans Christmas Day to get some things done, but I finally ordered a laser engraver, and I was saying to my dad that part of the fun of this whole thing right now is I'm in the best stage you could be in, where I'm getting the R&D stage, if you will, the research and development stage, where I'm just kind of finding what I really want to make and really enjoying testing some things out and seeing what steels I like, and we can make a hatchet together because it's not going to get in the way of my big drop. Like, very good knife company, dude. I think about him on a daily basis because he has this company where he's doing drops, but in between, at when he has enough time, in between can take some side orders of the other models he has.
Or
And
like custom orders and stuff
that's
like that.
exactly how I'm gonna have it. I'm gonna have a gallery of all my previous work with their names and steels. And if there's something special you want, I can do that. I just have to fit it in around when I'm getting some stuff done for drops. That's how my
Yeah, if
whole operation
Jacob
is gonna
had a
be.
bigger kiln, I'd probably be hitting him up for the Tomahawk. But I get it. Most people don't have a uh, something to heat treat something that big. That's kind of
I
getting.
think mine's like 30 inches long. I think 28, 30.
Yeah, I think you told me like 28 or something like
I'll
that.
I'll measure it in the morning and let you know for sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
because like I said, I was thinking Tomahawk, like uh, uh, probably like 15 to 18 inches or so.
Yeah.
And because I've always liked the idea of a full tang tomahawk, and I've had a handful of them over the years, but they're all just kind of lacking something. And fixer of everything.
That's all I do is go around and fix people's cars, doors, windows, houses. So they got me a mug.
Momo the poodle's trying to get in here. I got a poodle German Shepherd mix, and
Huh.
he's kind of the farm dog that runs around here. And I always tell him, I'm like, nobody takes a poodle seriously.
Yeah, right. Guys, I will tell you, I said to Gabe, Gabe was nice enough to send me one of these to make some content on, and he's got a link for them, right, Gabe? You want to shout out your link?
Yeah, well, I got a Demco link. When this video gets posted, I'll link it below in the comments or in the description or however it works best. But yeah, I'll be linking that. It's a Demco affiliate link. It gives you guys a little bit of a discount to buy from Demco, and I've always had great luck just buying directly off of Demco's website. So you
And
know,
dude, I'm telling you, this knife has is for the past day and a half. I got it yesterday morning in the mail, guys, from Gabe, and I had like 5 boxes of belts and stuff for the shop come in, and I used this to open all of them. And for some reason, this blade shape is just like it's like Gabe's Hawk. Gabe's Hawk was made with that just precise tip. This thing's kind of like that in the sense that like it's just got this perfect tip for prying into things and getting into things and opening things. It's just such a cool little knife. I'm loving this thing.
hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I've been pretty impressed with the Demco Shark Cubs. I think I might end up having to try to buy one of the more premium Shark Cubs at some point, just because
Well, I said to Gabe today, guys, that I saw when this came, I watched some videos just to get some background info on the design, or just see what everybody else was thinking about them, because I kind of like loved the crap out of it right out of the box, and it's like a fidgety little everyday carry knife that's not too much. It's just one perfect handful, and you even got a little bit of extra room back there to spare. But they have a version coming out that's like a bronze anodized titanium scales that are flat. They are not rounded as much like these are. So I heard a couple people say that they didn't like it as much as this that reviewed it, and it's got a 20 CV blackened blade, black DLC blade. But I
hmm.
was thinking about pre-ordering one. They're only like 260 or something. And dude, I was thinking about pre-ordering one because I love this thing, man. It's just a great little freaking slicer. It just does what I need it to be. It's
Well, and
very
to
simple.
be totally honest too, I've used Demco's AUS 10 steel quite
It's
a bit.
good.
And yeah, it's good. I'm actually very surprised by it. And that's something else that kind of goes into the like steel conspiracy too is you know, a lot of people gets a bad rap on like AUS steels or D2 or a handful of other steels, and when you have a cheap Chinese company that's pumping out quote D2, but then it's really 420 Pakistani stainless or some crap, then it gives a bad rap for D2, or they just don't heat treat it right to begin with. And there's a lot of your older steels that's been around for a long time that's actually pretty good steels when you do it right. And Demco, at least from my experience, does their AUS 10 pretty good.
And you know what's funny? That's that preconceived notion. Everybody knows or everybody knew that this was a cheap and shittily done steel because it was used on some cold steel knives that were made overseas that didn't have any kind of toughness or edge retention. Now, one thing I cannot do, I don't know why, man. I have always appreciated cold steel for what they are. I don't think I can talk crap on them for anything just because they've always, they're those guys that used to just give us like the $40 fixed blade that was like mega hard use and just awesome for like 40 bucks.
Well,
But
I've beat the shit out of a lot of SRKs, and for the longest time, I would tell people like, "Hey, if you need like a cheap survival knife,
right.
most people are suggesting a Mora, which I think Moras are kind of craptastic, quite frankly. But I would suggest an SRK for a long time, just because you on Midway USA, a lot of times you can find them for like 30, 35 bucks, and and they're pretty decent. Are they going to be as good as like an SE? No, but it's a good knife for that much money. But I don't know if Cold Steel's kind of completely went down the shitter or not. So
Well, and it's funny because now you're looking at Demco. Demco is a very serious folder guy. He seems to be taking his work and his pricing and the consumer very seriously. I've heard he's a really great guy to work with. I think he's trying to bring back that Oz 10. I know that now, guys, I will say this. Oz 10 is so much better than Oz 8. That is what I'm hearing over and over again. That's what I've heard, I've felt
that's
about it
been my
anyway.
experience with
Yeah. So
it too.
this is not Oz 8, okay? It's AUS 10 instead of AUS 8, but it's pretty formidable compared to that as far as edge retention and
Well,
stuff.
I know I got
Look at
the
your AD 20.5. How long have you been carrying that folder every day?
that folder I have carried
A
longer than
year?
just
8
about
months?
any.
9 months?
It's been a couple years almost now, and I love that 80
Yeah.
20.5. Like that's been probably my favorite, folder. The Shark Cubs are like right up with it, but I actually like the sizing on the Shark Cubs a little more, but the 80 20.5 just feels a little more solid, in all honesty. But that being said, that AUS 10 still holds up great. And the thing I like about it, and this is just me personally, for a folding knife, I like something that I could, beat the shit out of it and then just run it on a strop and it's good to go. Like, I don't want some like precision sharpening type of knife steel. And AUS 10 honestly does good at that.
So, guys, there's this comment, right, over and over again, where like people will say, there's a big kind of like guys that like your Magna Cut, guys that like your 1095 still, and I think what Gabe just kind of tapped into that I was thinking about that I felt the need to comment on is that part of the greatness about a steel like this, it's not when you're sharpening a knife, it might take you an extra 10 minutes to do a high-end steel than if you would this, right? Maybe an extra 10 minutes of getting those grind lines out or getting that burr taken care of, right? But in my experience, something like this is going to dull a little bit, and it's gonna keep a working edge for quite some time, but it's gonna dull a little bit, and you're gonna need to just touch it up on a strop, and it'll be nice and sharp again. Especially if you're skinning or doing something like that that's a little lighter in impact. But the greatest part about that is when I have a Magna Cut knife, and I'm sure Gabe can tell you this is just how it goes. When I have a Magna Cut knife, it's gonna hold an edge a lot longer, but when I damage it, right? And I really fold that thing flat over and the whole edge is gone. It's it's a lot more like I'm gonna have to come back and use diamond stones to correct that. I'm gonna have a field sharpener on me to correct that. When something like this, when it goes dull, it's just a lot easier to kind of zip zap it on a ceramic rod and have it ready to
Well,
go. You
so
know what I
I'll bring
mean?
up a couple points. So a lot of people will like bitch at SE and or Tops and a few others for making knives in 1095 still. But I will say, you know what that does is it actually helps keep a lot of other knife manufacturers and makers prices in line, because if everybody was trying to chase after Magna Cut, then every freaking knife would be like skyrocketing because everybody's chasing after the same knife. And for the average person, like if you're just going out and playing bushcraft once a year, an SE is going to do you just perfectly fine. Like and people's asked me like at what point is there like diminishing returns, and it's
Right.
like, well, the diminishing returns is noticeable when you're an average knife user. Like a guy that's like using a knife every day and out in the woods like pretty regularly or out on the farm and stuff like me. then yeah, I do notice a difference between like a steel. But if you're just a guy going out camping once a year or something,
Never
then
know it.
yeah, grab you an SE, 6 and be perfectly fine. But and there's that as well. Is just so a lot of those makers are helping keep the market and the price down. It's kind of like PSA uh, compared to like every other gun company. If there wasn't PSA, then people would still be trying to charge $2,000-3,000 for an AR-15. But instead, they have to try to keep their prices more competitive because you got PSA pumping out $500 ARs for the common man.
And I've seen, I think some guy the other day said a comment on a video I was watching. I was looking at a bolt carrier group upgrade for the PSA M4 carbine I got in 5.56 NATO. And the guy in it said the problem is that most people don't put more than 100 rounds a year through their PSA, so they don't even know if it works good and blah blah. So then I went and searched for a video of somebody that's done fucking hell of a lot of rounds out of their rifle and just beat the dirt out of it. And this guy, dude, he had a PSA that was like 540, I think, and it was in 5.56. And dude, this dude torture tested the thing, and it was still grouping, like it was still moving. So I was pretty impressed by that.
Well, I mean, to put something in perspective, I have a couple rifles. I got a more nicer prancing pony, and I got a PSA, and I got about 3,500 rounds through my PSA, and it's honestly never given me any issues. I actually had at one point I had an F&H, and the PSA was actually overall more reliable with a wider variety of ammos than the F&H. Like I couldn't get the F&H to run steel case at all, and the F&H is almost a $2,000 rifle. So,
Yeah.
oh,
That's why I hate not being able to shoot on my property anymore, because I got to go to, during the winter, I have to go down to More Outdoors indoor shooting facility, and they
yeah.
do classes and sell guns there. It's a great place, but I'll go down there, and you can't shoot steel case there. It's got to be
Oh, really?
brass.
That
That's got to
sucks.
be
Yeah,
brass.
yeah.
But
I steel case is kind of hard to get these days, but I stocked up on a shit ton of it, so I still will shoot steel case. But so, we might need to kind of wrap this up because I'm at like 10%. My battery's going down like fast, like
okay.
because I'm outside and it's cold. So, um, does anybody else have anything? John, you
Bush
got any final comments?
Bushcraft Rebooted said there's a huge difference between recreational use and avid or professional use in anything. I
And
agree.
yeah, that's for sure. I mean, with guns, knives, everything, there's a huge difference
So
there.
guys, real quick, I will say I will be posting on my social media, my Instagram and YouTube at Heavy Set Tactical. I will be posting when my website's done, and you guys can check out what I'm working on in the shop. I'm gonna try to do some live content during my work week to show you guys what I'm working on in there. But just know I will not be doing any pre-orders. I will be doing same day shipping, and it's going to be very well heat treated, as you can see so far with the Erica's EDC thing. I'm also sending a knife out to Gabe this week for him to have and enjoy and test. So maybe you'll see some content on that as well. And I'd like
Yeah,
to shout out
and
Very
I
Good
will
Knife Company.
definitely be sharing some links to John's stuff when he um, gets his stuff going. And be sure to check out Very Good Knife Company. He's going to be pumping out some models, hopefully, i.e., a Mustang run. I'd like to see a Nitro B Mustang run. I think that'd be
Wait, is the
cool.
Mustang that thing that Peterbilt Knife Guy has?
No, that's the Revelation.
I like that. It looks like a mini version of the Tops Longhorn Billy.
Yeah, yeah, that's the Revelation. But the Mustang's a little smaller than that. It's kind of the Mustang's more of about the size of the Hawk.
So real quick, dude. Earlier, this guy said, Ama E Apa Hernandez said, "Can you laminate G10 in a couple layers of micarta?" That's actually something that I was asked a few months ago by a friend of mine. He said he would like to see one after the other, like take some liners and put them all together. So maybe I will give that a shot and see how it turns out.
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, you could always try it. Or I know Primitive Bear Knives have done like half micarta and half G10 kind of mix too. I got a couple that's done like that.
So, real
Uh,
quick, Gabe, I want you to think about this, right? Imagine if I layered that orange like two or three more times in between there. I think it'd be cool. You know what I mean?
oh, it would be. It would definitely be cool for
And
sure.
if we got any fans of the Scandi, I made one of these and I have two of the blanks left. So if somebody wants one, they're in Nitro V and super cheap, 220 shipped and handmade by me.
All right. Well,
All
John,
right,
thank you
brother.
for hopping on. My
Thank
phone's
you.
just about dead. So next Sunday, guys, we'll be trying to do another live stream. We're going to try to keep up the live stream kind of kick about every Sunday around 7 or so. So, unless if it kind of dies down. But John, thanks for hopping on. And
Thank
everybody,
you, Gabe.
thanks for tuning in.